we're seeing Zionism being institutionalized even further into UK society. What do I mean by that? Well, last Friday, Gavin Williamson, the Minister of State for Education, sent a letter around to head teachers and school leaders saying what he thought, how he thought schools should respond to how our young people are supporting Palestine. So straight out of the gate, the basis of his argument is that anti-Semitic incidents are going up in schools. What he's not doing here is he's not allowing any debate around the point he's making, which is that criticism of Israel is not anti-Semitism. And he can't invite that debate because as soon as you start that argument, the fallacy of it, the fact that it's a lie, becomes obvious. Criticizing a national government's war crimes is not racism. It's not a form of racism. In fact, it's because you expect some kind of equality in behavior from these guys. So, the entire basis of this letter, of his point of view, is a lie. And what he's doing here is conflating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism, because that's what the rest of the letter is about. The rest of the letter is about policing freedom of expression, about policing political expression in schools. There's nothing about racism. There's nothing about actual anti-Semitism going on in schools. And what makes this absurd is that he actually honestly has no idea how much anti-Semitism is occurring in schools, because since 2017, schools don't have to report racist incidents anymore. That's what this Tory government has done. That's how little they actually care about racism. So it's not about racism, it's about political expression. So what does he have to say about political expression? Well, he says that it needs to be conducted sensitively. Now, this might sound like he's trying to be fair, that both sides of a sensitive topic need to be presented honestly. This might sound like, he's going to talk about how children's idealism and activism needs to be channeled so then they become educated and active members of a democratic society. Is that what this letter is going to be about? No. Let's see what it says. Firstly, he has the nerve to say to schools that they need to remain politically impartial in a letter where he's conflated criticism of a foreign government with racism. And secondly, he knows that schools have to implement the prevent policy, which has basically made schools into political guardsmen against any child who expresses dissent against government policy. What do I mean by this? If a child says they disagree with UK foreign policy, if a child says that they support Extinction Rebellion, they have to be reported to the prevent policy. Schools have inherently become politicized spaces, and it's governments that have made them so. So him saying that schools are politically impartial, that takes a lot of nerve, and he's wrong. He's wrong and he's a hypocrite. And he ends his letter by suggesting how to approach this in a balanced way. But look closely at what he's saying. He's saying, look, you cannot work with anyone who criticizes Israel. And yet he doesn't say that for the opposite side. And look closely at the organizations he's suggesting. Either they are ardently pro-Israel, or at best, they look at the whole situation as two equal sides. And yet the fact is, if an organisation does not state the objective fact that Israel is a colonial project, then they're not telling you the truth. If you can't invite such organisations, how are you going to get the truth of the matter? So going back to my initial remark about how Zionism is getting embedded and institutionalised ever deeper, so how does the Muslim community respond? Well, clearly we need to embed the principles of a free Palestine, but also the fight for truth and justice into our own institutions. Now look, the fight has been brought to us. There's no more sticking our head in the sands. The fight has been brought to us, and we need to organise our communities. We need to organise our institutions with these goals in mind. I'm not saying this because it's going to be easy. It is going to be long and hard, but it needs to be done. It's beyond time. It needed to be done a long time ago, and it needs to be done as soon as possible. Let me know what you think, how this can be done, inshallah, and stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum.